quick and introduce you, okay? Got you? All right, bye. Hello and welcome to Hash It Out. I'm your host, Luca, and today joining me is our guest, Brooke Novick, who is a licensed psychedelic therapist. So, Brooke, what is psychedelic therapy and what kind of plants are used?
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. So, psychedelic therapy is when we use psychedelic medicines for the purpose of healing and growth. So, it means arriving at this work with intention, and so it's not recreational. It's really to help one heal. And the types of medicines that are used, you asked?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
there's a variety of medicines, and the one you work with will really depend on what you're feeling most called to work with. So there's psilocybin containing mushrooms, ayahuasca, ketamine, MDMA. That's just to name a few. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. And how long have these plants or medicines been used therapeutically?
Well, indigenous tribes and cultures have been using these medicines for thousands and thousands of years. But in our modern day society, it's not as common to be working with these medicines. And psychedelic therapy has very recently just become more popular. These medicines are working now to become legal here. So psychedelic therapy in our society is quite new, but in the scheme of things, people have been working with these medicines for thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, so is it currently legal in New York State or
So it depends on the medicine you're working with. Ketamine is legal. Psilocybin is not yet, but there's a lot of studies going on, and psilocybin will likely become legal in a few years, along with MDMA.
okay.
Yeah.
And why why pursue this path?
So oftentimes, regular traditional talk therapy is not enough for people who are experiencing certain types of symptoms, or just, talk therapy can be so beautiful, but sometimes it just is not enough, and sometimes it just needs a bit more support. And so when we work with intention with these medicines, we can really go a lot deeper into our healing and go beyond like the defenses of our mind and be present with, like psychic content and material that maybe we couldn't access in regular talk therapy. So when you use these medicines with talk therapy, it's so powerful because you can go really, really deep into your healing.
Yeah, get into a new altered state you weren't in before.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing this for?
So I've been a therapist for about 11 years, but I got trained in psychedelic therapy in 2017.
Okay, so a little bit of time for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Why would a person want to choose psychedelic therapy over, a normal like talk therapy like you mentioned?
Yeah, so I always recommend only doing this work if you feel called to it. As it's getting more popular in our society, people are thinking, oh, maybe this is the answer. I'll just go do this. And I always say, no, 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 only do this work if you're feeling called to it. Like if your intuition is guiding you to it. And if it is, then this work can really support you in just doing deeper healing.
Yeah, some that you can't get on a regular way. I got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
What types of mental illnesses or conditions do you think could be improved through psychedelic therapy?
There's so many, but a lot of the studies that are going on now have to do with addiction, like anxiety that comes up with like a terminal illness, so like end of life anxiety, anxiety, depression, PTSD. There's so many things, so many studies of trauma that have been really successful and supportive for people. So yeah, eating
Yeah,
disorders. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, it seems like it covers a wide list of illnesses.
Yeah.
Um, what if some ways that you've seen them be significantly impacting people like that you've worked with, for example?
Yeah, oh, I've seen so much. And that doesn't mean the medicine does the work for us because it doesn't, but it's not a cure, but it's a tool. I've seen people, oh my goodness, heal like depression that has just been persistent, going on for years and years, eating disorders, anxiety, a lot of sexual abuse trauma. This has been so helpful for in clients I've worked with. Yeah, just to
Yeah, so it
name.
seems like things that normally you would think last a while can be like cured from, some different I guess conscious changes.
Yeah, yeah, symptoms that have been going on for years and years where people have tried so many different things. Psychedelic therapy can really be so supportive in those situations.
Oh yeah, it seems amazing. Your website mentions the sacred aspects of these plants and like that it's a sacred earth medicine. Could you like elaborate a little bit on the spiritual side of psychedelics?
Yeah, totally. So a lot of people use these medicines recreationally. So like they take them, they go to concerts or festivals, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as, we're being safe. But when we arrive at this work with intention and like when we honor the sacredness of these medicines, that's when really deep healing and expansion can occur. So if you go to a concert and you're being safe, that's totally okay. But the work that you're doing will not really support long-term healing and transformation. But if you come at this in a really sacred way, in an intentional way, and you really honor the medicine and what it can help you with, that's when deep healing can occur. And part of that means preparing for the experience and then integrating the experience once you've had it. So taking time to process it and talk about it and really think, okay, what was this experience trying to help me with? How was it trying to help me? And how can I implement what I learned into my daily life? That's where the healing really occurs.
Yeah, because I can imagine, like you said, people use these substances like recreationally a lot, but the therapist really guiding you afterwards and maybe what you experienced and why you experienced certain things could be, really grounding for a person.
Yeah, it's so transformative.
And so we are talking about the upsides of this, but what are the main downsides or risks of psychedelic therapy that you've seen?
Yeah, it's such a great question. So, this work is not for everyone. People who have diagnoses of bipolar 1 or schizophrenia, or people who have ever had a manic episode or who struggle with psychotic episodes, I would not recommend it at all because these medicines can can exacerbate symptoms in those situations and make them worse or just bring the symptoms up to the surface. Um, but otherwise, for most people, this work is very safe when it's done in a safe setting, with someone who can support you through the process.
Okay, so generally, if you have like underlying medical conditions, certain
Yeah.
ones you should avoid it, but for the general population, it could be definitely something they could look into.
Yeah, as long as it's done safely, absolutely.
Okay, great. And last question, what would you say to someone who's like hesitant or a little bit skeptical of psychedelic therapy?
I would say there's no rush. Take your time, work, do this work when it feels right for you. And on the flip side of that, being afraid is really natural when you're doing this work. And I would say, don't let your mind or your ego stop you from doing something that you're feeling really intuitively called to. And we have so many resources. If you're feeling afraid, we have a free podcast episode that you can listen to. The fear is natural and there's no rush, so take your time. But also, if you're feeling a deep call to this, don't let the fear stop you.
Okay, for sure, for sure. No, that's amazing. Um, sorry, that's amazing. And thank you. These answers were really insightful.
Thank you so much. You asked such beautiful questions.
No, yeah, of course, I appreciate it. All right, are we good? Right.